What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and I wanted to talk about more behavioral biases, and talk about sunk cost and a little bit about loss aversion and mental accounting. And give you a very interesting example that relates to a lot of the things that certain people pay for in their own life. But before we do that, make sure you press that red button just like that size. Just gently tap that shit. And there's a bell notification. Just tap on that bell notification until it gets those parentheses around it, and YouTube will notify you every time I upload a video. Okay. Um, Behavioral biases or behavioral finance came about a few decades ago when, in essence, you could take psychology and finance. Finance was based on these very rigid models that didn't necessarily explain reality, but were much more theoretical in nature without actually providing useful measures for like policy making or understanding how the world worked. And you combine some of the discoveries and research in psychology together, and that is the best way I can or explain what behavioral finance is. And some of the things that came from that are super interesting. So I we'll start with a little example here, and you may have heard that people want somebody to pay for something because they tend to have more of they get more results, or something along the lines of, well, I don't give it away for free because when I give it away for free, nobody values it, versus when I charge for it, people actually pay attention to it or use it or whatever it is, type of thing. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And that is like reality in using the theories and some of the things in finance, where you can meld those together to really get an understanding of some of these things. And if you're running a business, maybe use some of these ideas to potentially test in your business and see if it makes sense or if it works for you. So in that example, right, there's plenty of free information online, right? Virtually anything you want to learn about any subject in regards to any industry or any field, you can probably find it online. And there's also pretty much just an endless number of people who are selling coaching services or the like, courses online, and with some type of potential rationale like that, or they just want to make money, which either one is fine. Now, what can explain some of that? Well, the most common people have probably heard of is a sunk cost. And that is things that are done in the past are not necessarily supposed to impact the way that, right, the theory would predict that it shouldn't impact the decisions that we make today, right? Like if I was to spend certain amount of money on, say, coaching or something like that, or let me try to think of a better example. If you were to be investing in something and you paid for, you were going to buy a property and you paid for the inspection, and that's 400 or $500, and then you decide to actually purchase the property when you realize it's not what you want for whatever reason, and the reason is because you've already invested $400 or $500 into it. That would be an example of a sunk cost that is influencing the decision today, where it shouldn't have any impact, which the theory predicts, on today. However, it does. And one of the other things is, like, say if you had an example of you purchased tickets to a show in a neighboring town that's an hour away, and say if you lived in the Northeast, where you get a lot of snow here in the U.S. So the night of or the day of the show, it is snowing all day, and there's a tremendous amount of you know traffic issues or accidents and advisories out there that saying maybe you shouldn't be driving, and you decide not to, but maybe you have a conversation with somebody who you bought the tickets with and mention that, say, oh well, if we had bought the front row tickets, we would have, braved that storm, and that is another example of the thought process where that past would have been the sunk cost, right? Whereas if they had been more expensive tickets, so there's the pricing of something that also goes into it, which helps lead into the next thing, which is loss aversion. If you were to consider, let's take an example here. Losses. I'm going to try to explain it like this, where these are losses and these are gains. So losses right here, if you had one here and one here, a gain gets you this much utility, if that's right. That's a gain utility. And then a loss gets you all of this. What in terms of disutility in economic speak. So what that represents is that this loss is larger than this gain given one unit of difference, right? Or you can put it in dollar terms. So if you were in this example to gain $100, the satisfaction, the utility you receive from that is good. Whereas if you were to lose $100, the dissatisfaction or disutility associated with that is worse than it is for the gain. So it's not proportional. You don't. If you make $100 or you lose $100, you're indifferent about the feeling. It hurts more to lose money, psychologically speaking, than it does to gain. So when you consider sunk costs and the loss of, I'm not really going to get into a mental accounting in this video, but if you'd like to press that thumbs up button, that would be great. If you'd like to hear about that, though, let me know down below in the comments, or just Google that shit. So when you factor in loss aversion and sunk cost, what that actually does is it drives higher usage, right? Like, think back to that example. If we were going to go to a concert and the weather was super shitty, so we decided not to go, but if we had bought like the best seats, we probably would have braved the weather and gone anyway, right? And so what does that do, right? Well, because the cost outlay on there, I don't want to lose that money. So maybe we would have gone, even though the weather was exactly the same, because of the cost of it and losing that. So when you have something like a loss aversion, which that tends to be normal, that's going to increase the usage. Same thing with sunk costs. So if there's a way to have some type of sunk cost, then you can increase the usage. And that sunk cost doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. Maybe it could be some other way of, because cost can be somebody's time or many other factors. So if you were to consider both of those things in your business and you took those two ideas to create some type of potential sunk cost for individuals and or have the perceived loss of something, you know what I mean? Like it was that there's an aversion to that, and you could factor those into a business, or just be cognizant of that when you're making decisions. It's just an interesting. So think of like Amazon, right? It's pretty common knowledge that people who are Prime members spend more than people who are not Prime members, because they want to get the full value out of the $100 or $120 for a Prime membership. So that should be a sunk cost. So why have any more usage of that other than to get the full value out of a membership? Yes, I agree that Prime or Amazon is super useful, but that is just one example of how some of these things play into real life, and you can use some of these concepts in behavioral finance to at least understand or potentially take these to make other decisions in your business that can have a tremendously positive effect on the top or bottom line of your business. Anyways, I appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions about this stuff, let me know down below in the comments. I think that I messed up the the understanding of some of these things. Let me know down below in the comment section, or reach out to me on Instagram. The link is in the description to my Instagram. I think this stuff is super fascinating, and it provides at least some type of elementary understanding or framework to think about things, you know what I mean, or frame things, you know what I mean, to keep that curiosity going. I think that some of the most successful people in the world have an innate desire to perpetually get better, and there's like a foundational curiosity to test or to learn, right? Because those can go hand in hand. The desire every single day to constantly improve comes with that as like the, you know what I mean, the foundation is can I get better? That's a curiosity, right? To improve through trying new things, whether that's reading, whether that's listening to something, whether it's testing something new in your business. And I think those two fundamental things have a tremendous impact. Anyways, complete tangent. Don't forget to press that thumbs up button. Peace out.